Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 9. Did AMC leak the fake script that everyone is talking about? I know in various social media channels, this script is making its rounds. We have it up on the screen. We've already picked apart several things that just looked absolutely fabricated. We're going to talk about some of those and then give you a little bit more insight of the history of this document and how it was leaked, who it was leaked to, how it was posted, and then the brilliance behind deciphering all of the different code there. And I'm still going to go on. I think there's a strong possibility that I think there's a small probability the script is not even real. I think there's a bigger probability that it was intentionally leaked. So one of the names on the side evidently is a cameraman named Deke. Someone had made that out of the, I guess, the side information there. But apparently, this could have belonged to the cameraman, and then it was posted by a female employee. Somebody's always, they're blaming the female employee, the intern that works there, I guess. But apparently, it was posted on Instagram just for a moment, and then conveniently enough, people got a hold of it. I don't know how many Instagram followers she might even have. That's still a little bit of gray area. But it fell into the lap of the Spoiling Dead fans page, and people have been deciphering it and put it up on different back channels and sites, making out some of the different verbiage of it. So we're going to talk about just some things that just don't make a whole lot of sense. So I appreciate all of you guys being here. We're going to break this down a little bit. It's going to be a little shorter stream. We may do a little different topic later on. We got a shout out. Let's see. We got a super chat already. So Captain Crawfish says, now that the end is near, I face the final curtain, my friend, and I'll say it clear. I'll state my case in which I'm certain, but more than this, I did it my way. All right, we got to know. We got to know what the big prediction is there. So that's almost like a hippo, that last minute prediction. So definitely want to hear that. But I'm going to mini debunk this. And let me say, starting out, I'm middle ground. I love the people at AMC. I love the writers at AMC. I love all the actors, and I respect what the people at the Spoiling Dead's fan page do. They get information out there, and they have went on record of saying that Rick definitely dies in episode 5. But based on some stuff that's coming out now, that's starting to surface, they're backing off a little bit and say, hey, you know what? They could be messing with us a little bit. But I'm going to give you a couple reasons. I took a sheet of paper, a standard sheet of paper, and I looked at the circles. And proportionally, these circles are not a water bottle, not the size of an alcoholic beverage, and are not the size of standard coffee cups. So these circles are either drawn really, really perfectly, or someone used a device in order to make a perfect circle. And even though the other stuff is kind of written in, if this belonged to Deke, the cameraman, Deke would have had to have time to make a couple circles and then write in chaos and confusion. And then how the Walking Dead set. First of all, my question is, who are you writing that for? And then moments of brilliance. So the question that I have is, why even write something like that? Are you writing it for someone else to see it? Are you writing it to post? Okay. So if Deke didn't write it, apparently this female employee took Deke's script and drew circles on the back of his script and then wrote on the back of it, then took a picture of it and posted it on Instagram and wanted you to know that a day in their life is chaotic and confusing. Wrong answer. That doesn't even make any sense. And then the person would have to be just extremely bored out of their mind. And then not smart enough to know that nobody wants to read a couple circles, so it has to be some of the text just bleeding through so we could talk about it. Very strange, all right? All right, let's get to a couple other facts that could debunk this and tell us that this script might not be legit. So how about the importance of the script? I've seen it written in some circles, and some people discuss that these type of scripts, I've read a couple chats that said these are just left to the side all the time. I don't agree with that. I think something that is as big as this as big as this death, that script is going to be under lock and key. You're going to pass it out, you're going to know who has it, you're going to collect it, and you're going to search them before they leave. AMC does a lot to protect their spoilers. They don't always do it well, but they do a fairly good job. They're not just going to leave these scripts laying around. So the importance of a Rick death, I think you would probably even number those and know who had what. The other thing is, it is way too early. What about the timing of this coming out a couple of weeks before Comic-Con? Don't they know that this is going to create a buzz, create a fury, and people are just going to want to get in there and ask the questions? Of course they do. And especially when you have the chaos going on with Chris Hardwick and probably not being involved in Comic-Con. So there's going to be some other hype. Then I think this could also be a subtle jab at the Spoiling Dead's fan page. Of all the times they've been right, and all the times that they have spoiled it to a certain degree, why not do something a little tricky to put the joke on them? Think it would be creative. I also think that you have people that are vulnerable. They assume that Rick dies, and we don't know that for sure. Here's something else that I've heard as well. I'm going to give you two more things that just don't make a whole lot of sense here. The white horse. Apparently, the white horse prop has a bloody handprint on the side. There were pictures of Rick taken where evidently he holds up his hand and shows the bloody handprint. That seems a little bit obvious. And now as I think about it more and more and more, the script goes on to state, in humor a little bit, Daryl and Rick was utterly gutted. That really makes me laugh. But struggling to hear Shane. All right. I'm going to ask the group one question. If you were in your final moments, let's say you were in a zombie apocalypse, and your fleeting moments, you had 5 seconds left. If you feel comfortable doing this, type in chat the person in your life that would be going through your mind. And I know you can't always predict that, but if you had just a couple moments left, your final moments, who do you think that would be? Okay. Would your final seconds probably be the person that cheated on you and you were raising their child and you stabbed them? Probably not. So if Daryl sees Rick and Rick is utterly gutted and Rick is struggling to hear what Shane says in his final moments, I'm not sure that Rick's final moments would not be Carl. That would not be his final memory. I'm feeling less and less comfortable about this script. I'm feeling less and less comfortable moving into Comic-Con. last night, many of us were really, really devastated, and it definitely could go in that direction. It may be legit. Rick might die in a graveyard being surrounded by a horde of walkers. Many people have said, not sure that's the epic death that we pictured with Rick. Judy just happened to be walking over around a few tombstones, and Rick took his eye off her and has to run in and save her. Doesn't being killed by a herd seem a little bit generic? And what's funny about this script is someone else brought it up last night and said, isn't this a lot like the Madison death? So, I mean, we could add 7 and 8 to it. Will he turn? Will he be devoured? I mean, last night we were to a point of talking about how gruesome this could possibly be. So, Lakeisha super chatting, missed the earlier stream. Lakeisha says, hi everyone, trying to catch up. I missed the 8 p.m. stream. What's happening? Is this fake? Is he really going to die? Was yesterday's news true? And Lakeisha, that's really what we want to break down. Is we've outlined, I think, 7 or 8 different things that make this less and less believable. There are things that make it believable. I don't want to totally debunk all of that. They were filming. Filming is expensive. They were filming for several days. Big herd of walkers. You know, Rick was on set. Carol was on set. Daryl was on set. It adds up. But I also wonder if it's possible that they will film a couple alternate situations. And they did leak a fake script. So, based on some of the evidence that your counsel, Killshot, has presented for you today, how does the jury vote? Fake or real? Intentionally leaked or found by mistake? Leave your thoughts and comments. I got Corporal Epic 999 Army. Questionable info. Andrew signs on for 6 episodes, but Rick dies in episode 5. AMC is willing to pay Norman $20 million, but can't pay Lauren, who plays a much better character, to stay on. I think those are all good points. We're going to highlight that in 1 second. Epic. So I'm going to get a few of these comments. LH Star says, if it's true, Rick gets a death less epic than Shiva. Good point. A lot of people are starting to think this could be fake news. Now, I do have to say again, those of you saying fake, Spoiling Dead fan page, Shiny Firefly, the queen of spoilers, has went on record and staked the reputation by saying, in caps, Rick does die in episode 5. They have a history of being on the money. So, a lot of you saying fake are going against the history. Those of you saying intentionally leaked, if it happens this way, and AMC leaked it, that would be a little contradictory of AMC's approach with spoilers. AMC is not a big fan of Spoiling Dead's fan page. So why would they leak a spoiler that is true for them to release and people to talk about. Maybe to desensitize people toward it. Okay, I get that. But if I had to pick one of the two options, it's feeling more fake. All right, I'm going to get back to two more things that I think make this questionable as well. Let me get back to the super chat really quick. So I would like for you guys to focus in on Corporal Epic here. Andrew signed on for 6 episodes. Would it make sense to kill him after 5? I mean, I guess it's reasonable. You're paying for an extra episode. And do we not have confirmation that he didn't sign for half the season? I'm just checking out a few comments here, everybody. Really, really good chat. There could be flashbacks in 6. Julie McGuire says, could the Spoiling Dead fans page be working with AMC? I'm going to say not to troll their own audience, no. Now, let me say this. The Spoiling Dead fans have threatened to post fake information from time to time to throw other people reporting it and talking about it off, which is why if we report it, we just say, hey, this is Spoiling Dead's fans. This is what they posted it. So if it's a troll, it's a troll. They were very adamant this is what happens, and now they're backpedaling. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 things that are questionable. I'm going to give you the last 2, and then I'll repeat them. So AMC apparently responded with all the Rick death videos and all the media that's out there. Another tweet was posted that said, don't believe everything you hear. And today, the Spoiling Dead's fan page said they could be screwing with us. But we stand by our prediction. But that was not as bold as yesterday. But if there is just a small, small glimpse of hope that this does not happen, and Rick has a near-death experience, and Rick leaves and comes back to the show, how epic would that be for the show to keep Rick alive? It's like, yeah, all right, yeah, the crowd is back. Everybody's got something to look forward to. How epic would it be when he actually comes back, and how amazing would it be if Scott Gimple actually went on one of these talk shows and said, we got you. We got the spoiler sites one time. I mean, would that not get the arrow out of his chest a little bit? Would that not get him a little bit of respect in today's day and age? I mean, I would definitely give him respect. And let me say one more thing, and this is not one of the top 10. As I said, this won't be a super, super long video. What is the one thing that keeps all the characters, what's the one word I'm looking for here, that keeps all the characters on The Walking Dead wanting to go on another day and just another day? What is it that they all have? Hope. Not the actors, the characters. It's hope. In the bigger macrocosm of all the Walking Dead universe, when we heard that Rick could die, what's the one thing that all of us want? We want hope. With that being said, I'm going to give you a real quick recap of 10 reasons why I think this script could either be fake or that AMC could have intentionally leaked it. So, number one, those damn circles. Those circles are not the size of a coffee mug. They're not the size of a water bottle. I have taken a sheet of paper and I've tried to find anything I could that you can drink out of that would be the shape of those circles, and it just doesn't work. So it is either a perfect freehand or it was an intentional device used to stage everything written on the back of that. The importance of the script. The script is very important. It is Rick's supposed death scene. So you don't leave stuff like that laying around. So that is that is clue number 2. And the fact that it belongs to Deke Kenner, I guess, and evidently someone else picked up his script. And I love the way there's a name just kind of watermarked across it. All right. It's way too early. It's way too early to get a Rick death spoiler. It had to be leaked. It had to be planted. Information doesn't come out a couple weeks before Comic-Con. They leaked this out there to get people deciphering all of it so people are fully charged and they have this whole letter completely deciphered by the time Comic-Con starts. It's going to take a couple more weeks. This could potentially be revenge for the Spoiling Dead's fan page. Of all the years of spoilers, now we know Rick's leaving. This could be kind of a shot in the gut of, ha, 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 we outsmarted you this time because we planted something you weren't expecting. We're going to have to look for Comic-Con clues. I think Comic-Con clues are going to go a long way of telling us the pictures, the filming, where they're setting up, and what's going on. I think the fact that people already make the assumption he's dead because they heard he left, I think goes a long way in that as well. The white horse prop. The white horse prop is a big deal. Rick showing his bloody hand. Too obvious to me. Okay, we saw the picture of the blood on the horse. We saw Rick's bloody hand. Did he die falling? Did the horse live? Was he saving a horse? Seems a little corny to me. Why Shane at the very end? If you've got just a few lines here of how this is going to go down with Daryl utterly gutted, or Daryl with Rick and Rick is utterly gutted, that part doesn't make any sense, and your last breathing moment seeing Shane does not make any sense either. AMC responding, don't believe everything you hear, and I think that folks over Spoiling Dead's fan page are starting to feel a little doubt and maybe looking for a softer landing. Let's put it that way. And then the question is, do I really believe that Rick is coming back? If I were writing this script, I'm going to give you my 3 scenarios, okay? When you're talking about a billion-dollar franchise and the face of that franchise, scenario number 1, which would be amazing writing, write Rick off the show for a year, year and a half, let the fans hold on to hope, as we talked about, and try to negotiate with Andrew Lincoln in a year and a half to 2 years to bring him back to resurrect what's going on at that point. I think that there's enough momentum, the show would do well for a year and a half. That's possibility number 1. Possibility number 2. Let Rick leave, write him off the show, add a time skip, and recast him as a second option. If you can't get the real thing, keep the fictitious character of Rick alive and get the person back. That would be number 2. That's the way I would write it. And number 3, the most dreadful and the least likely thing would be to kill him. But once you kill him, he doesn't come back. And we saw yesterday how dark and how bleak it feels when you think there is no more Rick Grimes. So that's my answer to the question. Dakota, I know a lot of people say no recast, but if I had to choose between Rick dying and a different Rick after another time skip, I would take a different Rick. That's me personally. Obviously, number one would be the best scenario, but if he's not going to come back, he's not going to come back. But you could open up the door to keep the character alive. And after a year and a half, people would be hungry for a recast. They would be more hungry for a recast than they would for a Rick Grimes death. You can bank on that. Because he would be older. It would be a different Rick. All right, I got a super chat here. And we're going to wind this thing down in a minute. So we got Hot Dogs with No Bun says, the herd is a herd of whispers. A whisper wearing Shane's face is gutting Rick. Where Daryl finds them, Rick believes it's actually Shane. Hot Dog, that would be some serious hallucinating. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I mean, of course, they don't have Shane's face because they would have been doing a lot of traveling. But could it be an introduction of the Whispers? Could it be Shane? Could it be his last moment? It's possible. I'm not saying that can't happen. It would be interesting to see it play out like that. All right. Question. I'll throw it out there to the group. And we'll just take a quick poll. Would you prefer A, to see Rick die by the method of this script in a herd of walkers? Or, I won't give you my first choice, or Rick leaving. 2 years from now, they can't negotiate a deal to bring Andrew back. And a older, different Rick Grimes coming in. So if you only have two choices, let's say they want to sign a deal with him and he won't sign a deal 2 years from now. He's like, nope, still want to be with my family. You only have A or B. Kill Rick off with this corny death where he gets devoured by a herd of walkers. Or let him leave. And if you can't sign him to a long-term deal, you bring somebody else to play the role of Rick. Okay, so in essence, what many of you are saying right now is that The Walking Dead really is not about Rick Grimes. That it's about Andrew Lincoln. Now, that concerns me a little bit because I've heard the opposite. I've heard that Rick is The Walking Dead. The story starts with Rick. The story ends with Rick. So all the people saying that they want Rick to die, it's not about Rick. It's about Andrew. So don't tell me that it's about Rick Grimes. Andy is not The Walking Dead, Vonda. He's absolutely not The Walking Dead. Shane is The Walking Dead. Daryl is The Walking Dead. Carl is The Walking Dead. Andrea is The Walking Dead. Dale is The Walking Dead. Tyrese is The Walking Dead. Tara is The Walking Dead. Rosita is The Walking Dead. Maggie is The Walking Dead. Jerry's The Walking Dead. Ezekiel is The Walking Dead. Travis is The Walking Dead. Madison is The Walking Dead. Scott Gimple is The Walking Dead. Robert Kirkman is The Walking Dead. Absolutely not. I wholeheartedly disagree with you. 100%. Andrew may be The Walking Dead to you, but you do not speak for the entire Walking Dead community. And for people to continue to say that is just completely outlandish. It is disrespectful to the story. It is disrespectful to the writers. It is disrespectful to the show. It is disrespectful to the fans that don't see your point of view. You definitely have a right to your opinion. but you don't speak for The Walking Dead. The show is a show. The show is a story. And I'm not telling you have to agree with the recast idea, but I'm telling you, if you say in one sense that Rick is The Walking Dead, but then you're saying, well, Andrew Lincoln is, well, that's two totally separate things. I don't, Vantna, but I can tell you that your opinion, based on the majority of the fans that said that they will watch and they will go to Comic-Cons, is the minority opinion. And I respectfully disagree. And Daryl would disagree. Vonda, call Norman Reedus on the phone, who's going to be doing the show for 2 more years, and say, hey, Norman, I think Rick is The Walking Dead. What do you think? He's going to say, oh, I'm sorry, that's disrespectful toward me. Call Lauren Cohen on the phone and see if she thinks Rick is The Walking Dead. Call Chandler Riggs and see if he thinks Rick is The Walking Dead. So you can definitely take your position that you like the character and that you might not watch the show afterwards, but I'm going to take the position is that he is not The Walking Dead, that there's more to the show. The cast is The Walking Dead. You're exactly right, Denise. The story is The Walking Dead. Rick is a part of that story. He is a big part of that story. He's a hard person to replace. Renee, when I watched Game of Thrones, I thought Ned was the main character. Is there anybody else that thought Ned was the main character on Game of Thrones? Just chime in if you thought that. I binge watched it. I didn't watch it week to week. But I was really excited to see what he was going to do. How did Game of Thrones do? Seemed to have done pretty well. But it's because the fans embrace the story and they move on. And if Rick dies, there's going to be fans that embrace the story, and there's going to be fans that love it, and there's going to be fans that don't. And there's going to be people that enjoy the show for more than to see what Rick Grimes does. And that is a rant, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I do want to say I love Vonda. And I see the comments and I see the passion. And several people that have that passion. But it's a two-way street. And I am going to hold on hope that, you know what, we'll all be okay. But I got to say it, and I got to be as passionate about it to support the show that I love, as passionate as people are when they continue to bash the show that I love because of a character. So if you have a right to say you're going to quit when Rick leaves, and you have a right to say, I feel like Rick is the show, then I definitely have a right to say, I appreciate a whole lot of other stuff. And I do love Rick's character. And I do like that. And I have Rick gear and Rick costumes and Rick action figures. But it ain't going to stop me from the show, because there's things that I appreciate with this that I'm always going to appreciate. And I hope this is leaked, and I hope it is bad, and I hope AMC is watching these videos, and I hope they see the passion of the people that don't want Rick to die. And I hope that they were able to write him off the show and negotiate a comeback. All right, I got a super chat here. I'm going to jump into this really, really quickly. Let me make sure I didn't miss any other super chats, because we got a lot of people. Actually, I'm sorry, I missed 2. Jimmy's jamming. Jimmy, I keep missing you. I was fired up, brother. I think that they found a good enough actor to sell a recast that could be done. I don't think... some people answered this before I finished the entire thought. I don't think a recast of Rick right now would be a good idea. I don't. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. The only way I would accept a recast is if that was my last option to keep the character of Rick alive. Don't think that, okay, Rick's leaving in 5 and Kills wants him to come back and it's a half-assed version of Rick. No, I would see it more as a let him leave, get your people on the phone with his agent and say, hey, Andy, in 2 or 3 years, could we get you back? We'd love for you to come in and we got a story for you. And if he vehemently says, no, I'm done, then after people have gotten somewhat used to Rick being gone, bring in a character. Not my first choice. But to me, I would prefer that over killing him. That's just personal preference. You don't have to agree with that. I'm just giving you a scenario. Some people agree with that. Some people disagree. All right. Another super chat. Corporal Epic Army says, until Comic-Con, I will not believe anything from AMC or the Spoiling Dead. I will wait until we know for sure one way or another about Rick dying. I somewhat agree with that. And I'm going to ask the group here. How many think that yesterday's reaction might have been a little premature? That maybe there is still that possibility until we get the Comic-Con video and break it down. Because it happened like wildfire. And I think that that was the intent. I think the intent was to leak this spoiler. Another Fox says, believe it when you see it. Fluff says we may have acted in haste. You know, it's what was out there, and it's the way it happened. I mean, with me, it hit in the middle of a stream that wasn't even anything to do with the spoiler. So as stuff started to surface and we talked about it more and more, it doesn't seem unbelievable. But I think there's I won't bore you guys completely to death, hopefully, but there's a psychological study that says there's no such thing as common sense. And I know some of you are like, what? Yeah, common sense is what seems obvious. Apparently, you can give people a scenario and then give them arguments, and then afterwards, when it seems like so believable, the common sense mechanism kicks in, and they say, oh, that was common sense. But they've done studies where they've shown people the exact same thing and made different arguments for the case, and people would say, oh, that's common sense. So to me, it feels as if we can justify either one of these things based on what is being discussed in our group, and if it's a mob mentality. And if we get this in the middle of a stream, it's like, hey guys, this is what's going on, Rick dies, then we can justify that death. We can justify the script. We can justify all the herd filming. We can justify Shane being in town. And we can see parts of that script that has Shane. But then we can also look at it and we can be very objective and say, why would Rick be visualizing Shane? Why would these circles be drawn in a production meeting? Why would this script not be better protected? Why would it just show up right before Comic-Con? Why would AMC react to it so quickly when in other spoilers they've never reacted to it? So we've made some very, very strong debunking arguments tonight, and what does that do? That plants the seed that maybe we don't know as much as we think we know. And then when you hear something like Spoiling Dead's fan page taking a half a step back from something they were definitive about the day before, it does give you reason to pause. Bumblebee, here's the problem. I don't know where everybody gets their information. I just know that their information has always been right. So the question is, do the sources, how many people go along with this? I think everybody is excited to see what happens with Rick, and then when something looks feasible, we run with it. And I don't want to be the person who, although we've reported, we've talked about it, I'm not going to be the person that's going to stand at the edge of the cliff and say, this is my 100% foolproof spoiler. I'll be very clear. This is information that is provided to me by other people, and they have never been wrong. But it does not mean that I'm sorry, not Spoiling Dead, that AMC and the writers could not have had a meeting and said, you know what? This Rick rumor is going to be the biggest rumor of all time. We need to do something to keep them busy. Let's throw something up there for them to decode. And this would not surprise. In fact, if this was not intentionally put out there, it would surprise me more now the more I look at it. And I think as we think about it, you guys are going to find more and more clues. So here's what I'm going to do before we wind this down, and before we all have a heart attack, like in making our case of who should be on the show and who shouldn't be on the show. I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor. I want you to give me your best reason. Could be something we've already repeated, but hopefully it's something that we haven't talked about or discussed, because I'd love to get that. Give me your best reason why this script could be fake. A little bit of silence here while we're waiting on a few people. Aaron, the Chandler information was wrong, by the way. You know, the tape that was playing and they said that Chandler was being stabbed, that was absolutely wrong. So Chris says for ratings. Casey says to draw in more viewers. Effort to increase viewer numbers. Publicity stunt. To hush the spoiler sites. Viewership. Ratings. To help the ratings. The timing of it. Julie says they would never let this big of a scene out. All for ratings. Liz Burnett says to pull one of the biggest pranks in cable TV history, to throw us off. A lot of good reasons. Tommy says to hurt the credibility of the Spoiling Dad's fan page. Tommy has an excellent point here. And it is not to be taken lightly. Part of the reason why the show wants to go a different direction from the comic is to slow down on the spoilers. So if you wanted to slow down on the spoilers, wouldn't it be a good move to trick one of the largest spoiling sites out there? That would probably be step number one. And that has to be something they discuss and then start to take it in a different direction. Chris, I think you're absolutely right. I think, as we talked about last night, just the rumor of Rick dying is worth wait. Let me say this to everybody. Hold on. I want to play this out the right way because I want you guys to understand the magnitude of this. Dolores Bird, Tanya Dockstader, James Pallett, Chris, if you could write a fake memo and it be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, would you do it? Jennifer Chandler, if you could write a fake memo and it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, would you do it? Lakeisha. Okay, hopefully you guys see where I'm going with this. If this packs the house for Comic-Con, if this sets records, last night, the first thing that we said after it sort of sunk in a little bit was, how many people think that Season 9 will set records ratings? Everybody's like, yeah, it's going to crush it. Season 9, everybody's going to want to watch that. If they beat their all-time ratings, do you know how many hundreds of millions of dollars that is worth? If you double your viewership in one season, people are getting paid. Not little bank, not a couple million, 5 million. You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars if they double their ratings. So absolutely, Chris, I think that you're spot on with increasing the ratings. It's a numbers game. And they want a rabid, aggressive crowd to be at Comic-Con, and I think that's why the timing of it was exactly that. Alicia with a super chat and another really good point. You know what? I'm gonna add this. Michonne Restraint. I'm gonna add that as number 11 because I got a list. Alicia Jett says, I can't see anyone being able to hold Michonne back from getting to a dying Rick. Super chat. Question for the group. Let's spotlight on that. Do you realistically think that Michonne would stop in that moment? Maybe she does put Judith first. But don't you think that Michonne would give her life to save Rick? Tanya says, no way. Easy Peasy says, nope. So that seems out of character as well, too, right? Jennifer says, no one's going to hold Michonne back. Julia says, hell no. So you get the point of some of these things just don't look like they're in character. And I'm going to add that to the list as well. All right, so we have discussed The Walking Dead Season 9. Did AMC leak a fake script? So after all the facts that are out there, in closure, you guys have heard my argument. If you think it's fake, just type fake in chat right now. I'm going to ask everybody to do me a big favor. Huge crowds the last couple days. We're going to keep these streams going. They are going to get emotional. They are going to get fired up. If everybody here, if you guys can give that thumbs up button a big like, share the video, comment on the video. There's people that are typing their thoughts, their feelings, all of the things that are out there. I'd love for you guys to get this up to 150 likes as quick as possible. Join the 999 Army. Subscribe. Get involved in this. In my haste and my passion, please don't think that that was a personal attack on Vonda. I love Vonda. I love everybody that's in this. I have as much passion for the show as everybody else. Sometimes it turns into a rant, and I don't want you guys... At the end of the day, we're all fans of the show. I want to be fans of the show, and hopefully we can all agree to disagree from time to time, but you're going to see that fire sometimes. If I don't have that fire for the show, I probably won't watch the show. That's what kind of keeps me going every week, wanting to see what happens and wanting to see the next story. And I feel like sometimes I have to support the show. I have to support the writers. I have to support something that I believe in. Epic says, also, wouldn't make sense for Daryl as the leader to keep Negan alive if Rick is gone and can't stop him, plus Maggie wants him gone. So Daryl's Negan position is something else I'm going to add. I'm going to end up compiling, Epic, probably a list of 20 different things that we're all going to sort of get our ideas out there to debunk it. I think we'll stack rank them. Some will be definitely more important than others. So, you know, maybe we'll do a video over the next couple days and we'll give our top 20 reasons why this script could be leaked as we compile some of the ideas. I've got a good 12, 13, 14. I know I didn't get everybody's ideas included in the video, but you may think those circles are silly, but that's going to be up there in my top 5. Just the way the whole doodling and scribbling went down just seems way, way too obvious to me that that was a for sure plant. Don't have to agree with it. It's just something, you know, I see it as a certain way. Tanya says, I think Season 9 is going to be a really great one. Julia says, how many people really stop watching if Andy leaves? Julia, let me put it this way. I think if there's 4 million people watching it, I think 20%. I think it'll be a big number. And I've not been shy about that. But that's why I challenge people and say, are you watching for Andy? Are you watching for Rick? Or do you really, is that something you say? But out of those, I think, you know, there's probably 100, 200,000 people that always say it because they think if they say it, the writers will listen to them and will stop it from happening. And that's what kind of is a little bit more concerning, is that, yes, we can voice our opinion, but the writer's going to go their own direction. And what we say right now is already, it's already decided. But I think from our group, a lot of people are staying. And the last thing that I'm going to say is we certainly respect everybody's opinion. But I will say this, and I see Mitch says, I'm a ride or die girl. A lot of people are here. But there are going to be people, and there are going to be people that stream this, that are extremely negative toward the show. And they're going to be looking for a group just like the 999 Army, where they can come over and talk about some of the ideas and disagree on some of the topics, but are going to be here till the end. And I will tell you, we have people here that are Walking Dead for life. We have people that are 999 for life. We have people that are here that are going to get involved in the next show. So the last thing I'm going to do, just as a show of support, I've seen a ton of people like this video, and if you're watching the playback, this is the closing credits, but if you're still here. Not if Rick died or Rick left. If The Walking Dead ended tomorrow, how many people in the stream are going to be 999 and are going to be here as we discuss the next big show, the next big video game, the next big event? How many of you are going to be 999 regardless of whether there's Walking Dead or no Walking Dead? That I'm going to leave you to ponder. Thanks, everybody. While you're typing your response to that, I am going to sign off. Don't be surprised. We have another video later on tonight. It could happen. Not going to make any promises. But you might see a little bit more of me in the very, very near future. Thanks, everybody. My name is Killshot. Give this video a thumbs up. Love you, Vonda Martin, and to the rest of 999 Army. Let me give a special shout-out to all the Patreons. Thank you for what you do for this channel, all the sponsors, all the super chatters. You guys are just amazing with your support. As we said before, if you guys want to rock some 999 gear, check it down in the comments below. There's a site, Threadless, that you can get, and you guys can go out and support that big 999 Army logo. All right, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Peace.